We have so many opportunities as parents to be frustrated. We also have so many opportunities where we can find joyous moments. But sometimes we have set limits and our kids have broken them or done something that's very disappointing. It's important in those times and in those moments that we truly keep our reactions in check. And what I mean by that is that we don't overreact. There are many times where we have opportunities to overreact. But keeping our reactions in check will actually help us have better conversations and strengthen our relationship with the child. When we overreact, we go into the mode of the red zone. And the red zone is up here, and that's where there's high emotions and people are not communicating well. The red zone. That's where we go when we overreact or have anger or frustration and we show that, or we're yelling. That is the red zone. So we want to come down from the red zone, and up there, that's where, remember how we talked about pouring fuel onto the fire and making it go bigger and bigger and bigger into the red zone. So instead of overreacting in these times when you really feel like you should or you could, we're going to keep it calm. And we're going to stay calm and we're going to listen to the child and have important conversations. I would like to share an important experience about this that a participant in my workshop shared with me, and she gave me permission to share it with you. She had a 9-year-old daughter who had been working really hard at a goal, and the daughter met the goal. Her reward was a Kindle Fire. And these parents had taken so many measures to make sure that this Kindle Fire was safe for the child. They had put on blocks and passwords and made it safe for her. But one day when she was at school, she heard some things on the playground that kind of sparked her curiosity. And she couldn't look it up at first, so she knew she needed to get some passwords. So when her dad was away, she was able to get his phone and able to get into the passwords and put that into her Kindle Fire so she could look up these things that she was curious about. Unfortunately, this led to pornography. This 9-year-old girl would get into her closet and repeatedly for weeks look at pornography. And she didn't like the way it made her feel. So what she did was so brave and so crucial. She reached out and she went to her dad. She explained to her dad what she had done and things she had seen and the way it was making her feel. I am so proud of this dad. He did not overreact in this moment where he was mortified and so frustrated and sad for his child, and I'm sure angry. He easily could have reacted right there and had really big emotions. Why did you do that? You know better than that. Why did you take the password? There's so many things he could have yelled at his daughter and the overreaction, but he didn't. And because he kept his reaction in check, because he stayed calm, no matter how he was feeling inside and all that frustration, he stayed calm for his daughter and for his relationship with his daughter. They were able to talk and discuss what went wrong and do that in a calm way. They decided it would be better if the Kindle Fire was taken away, that it wasn't an option anymore, that she wasn't ready for that right then. And it would help her to heal through this process. And then together, they also involved mom. After they talked dad and child one-on-one, they involved mom and let mom know about the situation. When the mom came to my workshop and shared this experience, I was floored. I was so grateful that she shared this with us, but also just so proud of that dad for keeping his reactions in check instead of overreacting. Like I said, our kids are going to do things that frustrate us or things that they know they shouldn't do. They're going to disappoint us at times. That's part of life. These things happen sometimes. What matters is how we as the adult, how we show up to that. How are we keeping our reactions in check? The reason it's important to do that is because it can strengthen the relationship. Think about it. If you overreact with the big things that have happened and the frustrations, they're not going to come to you even with the little things. And if you overreact with the little things, they're not going to come to you with the big things. They're going to say, oh, I know how they're going to act. Oh, they're not going to care. They're going to get mad at me. So instead of that big reaction, stay calm. It doesn't mean they got away with it. It doesn't mean that you can't hold them accountable, but it does mean that you are supporting the relationship when you can keep your reactions in check, stay calm, have a meaningful conversation, and then decide how to proceed from there, whether there needs to be a consequence or if you just need to move forward. A funny example I want to share with you about keeping our reactions in check actually comes from my own family. Now, let me just start with the disclosure. You know that we're not perfect. We don't claim to be perfect. We're just a typical family striving to do our best. And do we make mistakes? Yes, we absolutely make mistakes. We are not perfect, but we do know how to fix those mistakes, to reset and start over. This example happened when we were living in Texas. And I remember for some reason I was driving and then my husband was in the passenger seat. There were 2 kids behind him, and then 2 more kids on the next row behind them. So 4 kids behind us. I'm driving along on the road, and the child sitting behind my husband's seat, he was really emotional. I don't remember the scenario of what happened or why he couldn't get it or why he was freaking out, but he was freaking out. He was kicking the back of his dad's seat, and I'm driving, and we're trying to stay calm, and we know we give the explanation once why they can or can't have something, and then go into the short, simple phrases of, I understand. So we've been doing that for a while. Well, all of a sudden, my husband, he had it. He was done with the short phrase, and he turned around to my son. So let's pretend he's sitting right here in the chair. His chair is getting kicked, and he turns around with his finger pointed and he says, zip it. He points that finger and he says the phrase, zip it. Now, I had never heard him say this phrase before. My kids had never heard him say this phrase before. He did not commonly use this phrase. But I kid you not, within 30 seconds, that child who just received the zip it from dad, he turned around to the next sibling with his finger out, the sibling behind him, and said, zip it. And it was incredible. It was so funny. We all burst into laughter because it was all of a sudden we directly saw the impact of our reaction and how our kids can model it. So it is so important to keep your reactions in check. And my husband, he did apologize. He said, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. But it had already been done. And sometimes that child still says, zip it. So it's important to remember to keep our reactions in check. There are multiple ways you can choose to do that. There's more than one right answer. But the encouragement today is to keep your reactions in check.